Hi, and welcome. We are back here for another session with Rodney Hobson, and I hope you enjoyed last week's episode. We started some dialogue and actually a live sort of therapy session, if you will. And I'm very, very happy to be able to be transparent and just be able to lay down some groundwork for us to be able to help some folks out there. You know, we all need a hand up, and here we are. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. What I'd like to do today is connect with how we ended the show. We ended it with a topic, or basically a statement. It was saying, and I get this from a lot of people. They ask this question: why do the women stay? Or why don't they leave? And it's amazing that throughout my years of working in domestic violence, that's the number one question, particularly from men. And so I want to just quickly review the definition and connect this together in terms of why they won't leave. Now remember, domestic violence or abuse is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner, to maintain power and control. Now we're going to connect the behavior. The behaviors of domestic violence includes physically harming and arousing fear, with the purpose of preventing a partner from doing what they wish, or forcing them to do something, or forcing them to behave in ways they do not want. And so when you really bring it down, we're talking about a behavior of fear. And so in some of my treatment sessions, women would talk about the fear of being embarrassed, the fear of shame, losing their families. But they also talked about the fear of that he may become more violent, or the fear of friends and family not being supportive, not understanding what is going on or how they can even help, or the fear of single parenting, or the flip side, the hope, I can fix it. I can help him become a better person, or he can get help, or the mindset, take the good with the bad. And the list goes on. At one point during your experience, when did you decide to leave? Or what was the breaking point where you said, I had to go? And was it a struggle to leave?
That's a loaded question, and everything I wanted to jump in and every point that you made there, so we can take it one part at a time. And the question that you asked, well, let's start out with the point of when did I decide to leave? I actually decided to leave multiple times, and things kept happening that it wasn't a safe time to leave. So when I say things happened, at one point, and this is how, you know, when I talk about putting together a plan and making sure that you execute that plan and then have a backup plan, because I planned it out, and I was getting ready I had everything all set to go, you know, I timed his schedule, I had the movers coming, I had the boxes packed, I had to go to my great-grandmother's funeral. She was 93 years old, and I had a plan that I was going to her funeral, and then I was going to meet the movers there, and that I was gone. I was going into storage, and I was going into hiding, because that was my plan. But her session went on for her homegoing went on, and the family was so involved and engrossed in it, I didn't put myself away quick enough. So when I got home, the movers had already come and gone, and so that was just one of the times that I said, okay, let me recalibrate, let me reschedule this, because he showed up. And again, you know, it gets really intricate when you're looking at all of those things that you said. it wasn't about the single parenting. That wasn't my issue. It was the fear of retaliation. It was the fear of, and I always thought that I had to put this face up, that, okay, give it another chance, even though in my heart I knew I was not giving it another chance. I was giving myself another opportunity to schedule time to leave. So I wanted to be just gone. I didn't want to,
Okay.
And so that was one of my, challenges.
For people to really understand this, when you said retaliation, give some clarity to that.
Yeah, because most of the time, and like I said, I went through this multiple times and dealt with different personalities, but it all came down to, like you said, the control. And when you said, and I said, you said the fear. The fear of retaliation was because during the relationship, things started to come out that person was capable of harming me, or that person was capable and would carry out threats that he made to my family. So not to my family, but to me about my family.
Now, some may ask, how realistic is that? He might have just been talking stuff.
When somebody is fighting you and you know that they carry weapons and they discharge their weapons, that's not just
So
in my
he had
head.
the means,
He had
and
the
he's
means,
already
and
demonstrated.
he'd already demonstrated that he would.
Okay. Now, did you have children at the time?
I did.
Okay. Did he ever threaten the children?
He did not threaten. That was the one thing he did not do. He did not threaten. He did not threaten her.
Okay. And as I go down this list, something that jumps out is the fear of losing custody if you leave or divorce. Did that ever enter to your mind?
Well, see, when the first bout that I was in a domestic violence relationship, my daughter was from a previous marriage, so I didn't have that concern. But I do know that a lot of women do have that concern because oftentimes, because of the fear, you don't report. So when it comes down to a divorce, there is no record that there has been abuse. So when they come down to a decision, they may give joint custody. Or they may give, they may give joint custody. Now, you still have to deal with that violent parent. Or
Right.
you're afraid that sometimes, and it has been documented in reports that they will kill the children. And so those are real dangers.
Right, right. And in discussions with other men, and they looked at this as being kind of petty, is that the woman did not want to leave because of money or finances. And that is something that's very important in terms of survival, because once you remove yourself out of a place of stability, financial stability, and you are on your own, even if you do have a job, that still puts you at a very difficult situation, because now you're dealing with, again, where am I going to live? Where am I going to go?
And that actually was, you can say you go to your family, but now you're bringing that to your family. There, with the financial part of it, and where am I going to go? And I'm going to talk about my whole story, but in the conclusion of it, when it was that final day that I had to leave, and when I some people at a counseling center told me that I couldn't go back because he had lost touch with reality, and it was his ideal to go to counseling. So they wouldn't let me go. They actually called the police, and they arranged for me to go to a women's shelter. Now, one of the big issues too is that I was always a corporate working woman. So for them now to had never had any exposure to a shelter, had never had any exposure to homelessness or any of those things. So to say, okay, now we need to take you to a shelter, I was terrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely paralyzed and terrified. And as they walked me out, and she finally talked me into it. At that point, I didn't tell her that I had a 6-year-old daughter. Just too much was going on. But when I got in the car, I said, wait, I have to go get my daughter. And so she stopped and she picked my daughter up, and we went to the shelter, and they told me that they only had room for one. So now these are very real, and that's why we were doing this podcast. That's why we are doing the 20,000 People Times $50 challenge to start raising money so that we can actually offer real solutions and real. I'm not saying that they're not out there, but we want to put it all together to where we have we can make some real difference. Because for me, for them to say that they couldn't, I mean, I was devastated, and you know.
And that is an excellent point, because the reality is, as we listen to what you said, you can have a safety plan, but that safety plan may not work according to plan.
Absolutely.
Going to a shelter, not having enough space.
Right.
You can't bring all your kids there.
Right.
Now what do you do?
Exactly. Exactly.
And these are things that some women face.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found, again, interesting, but yet very concerning, is I talked with women who were first ladies.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to leave because their husbands, who were pastors, was abusing them. Behind closed doors, there was a lot of things going on. When they stepped out, it was all about image. It was all about appearance. Now, some of these women decided to stay because of, number one, religious reason, religious belief, their own religious belief. But, and here's the mindset, they did not want to destroy the image of what he built. How would that look? Look at what it might even, and again, the magnitude of, let's say, the reputations of these pastors could have been newsworthy. So all of these different decisions and choices go through your mind. And it's, again, the fear. Who will believe me? And that was the number one fear of what, or let me put it like this, concern from women. Who gonna believe me if I tell them this? This guy put on this image, put on this front. Everybody look at him as being this, being that, but behind closed doors, he's a completely different person.
Yeah, the gentleman that I was describing to you, he was a pastor's kid, grew up in the church and such, or what have you, and his mom, I believe, and I still believe to this day, she's no longer with us. I believe she knew what was going on, but her philosophy, and from my understanding, she dealt with domestic violence, and her thing was, just stay, and you stay, and you stay. But see, that's what I'm saying about, it's time for us to become real. Be real about the situation. You do not deserve to be treated that way. I don't care what type of palace has been built around you or what type of image has been around you. Your health, your safety, your life. We've all been given one life to live, and you have at a certain point to say, my life is worth more than this. It's not about the stuff. It's not about the image. It's not about his image. He's doing this. And I know that's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy. I mean, it took me forever, and I wasn't,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you.
No, go ahead.
No, that's what I was going to ask in terms of why did you stay? And it's easy to say everything you just said, and it's accurate down to the point. Challenging and difficult to do because of all these other barriers that's floating around. And particularly when you look at how you want to live, how you've been living your life, now how you want to live your life, or how will you live your life. And again, the question was, why do they stay? And why won't they leave?
Yeah. And empowering our women, empowering anybody that's going through domestic violence or what have you, that's why I come here, and that's why I'm so open, because I said, I'm no better than anybody else. And I went, the thing you said earlier, you said, what made you decide to leave? Well, like I said, I had a plan to leave, but the one time that he put all of his weight on my throat, and I saw dark, and I thought I was going to die at that point. I knew that I had to accelerate my plan and get out of there. When he put a sawed-off shotgun to my head, I knew that I don't care about this stuff. I need to preserve my life, and I also needed to find some help. Because you can't, I'm not going to say you can't because I don't use the word can't, but it's very challenging. That's why I bring the different tools, bring your insight into this program, because it's to build the confidence and to empower and to let women know, again, self-esteem issues, though all these different issues, you have to come to yourself and find out what's going on within yourself, and what do you need to strengthen, what do I need to heal inside of myself so that I can come out of it. Because we said it the other episode, if I stay, I'm going to die. And if I leave, there's a chance that he may come after me, but at least I have a better fighting chance if I'm fighting. If I'm going to be shot down, if I'm going to be choked, strangled, or whatever, at least I want to do it. I want to do it fighting back.
Right. And one of the things I said to many of the women is, it's okay to be afraid.
Yes.
As long as you act while you're afraid.
Do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
Absolutely.
And so, as we get more into this in terms of why women stay for whatever reasons, the difficulty of them overcoming those reasons that's in their heads, because I call them mental blocks, mental barriers, and self-imposed prisons that they put themselves in, and now they're thinking, I can't leave. And in situations where I instructed women, hey, just pack what you need, get the legal necessities, pack it in your bag, and for those that had children, go.
And see, in part of the episode for today, we're going to talk about what you put in your safety kit and how you put those, what you put in there, and how do you, given practical steps to be able to have some type of a foundation when you land, some type of to help them to do their plan, to help them put their plan together, to help them give practical steps. Because, again, I say because, and it brings up a lot of emotion for me, because at a point in time, I did think, okay, this was it. There were several times along my journey I thought, this was it. But if we know that we have purpose here, and we know that there is a better way than today, there is a better way than somebody calling me out my name, somebody, controlling me, I didn't see this day while I was there. But I want other women or other people to see me today, because I am not what I was there. Just to know that there is life on the other side of this, and that you can get out, that there are tools, there is a road, there is a path to a brighter day.
But isn't that, as this one woman put to me, that's taking the good with the bad? In other words, yeah, that's the bad part of him, but he does a lot of good. He does this, he does that. He shows me that he loves me by doing this and doing that. Was that a struggle for you to overcome?
I saw it. I saw the good, and women being nurturers. I tried to show him himself in it and tried to tell him this is not you. But when it all comes down to it, and I'll give you this example, when it all comes down to it, if you're making a big old nice batch of cookies, and you're stirring the cookies, and you got all of the fresh ingredients in it, and somebody comes in and drops some dong in it, do you still want it?
Good example. Good example. So it's time for us to wrap this up.
This has been wonderful. Yes.
So is there any last things you would like to say?
Again, and I'm so passionate about it, because I was given the opportunity to start my life over again. I was given the opportunity to live a healthy life. I was given that opportunity. I was blessed to be able to, my daughter said it best in her letter, I was able to save 9 lives. I'd never thought about my grandchildren. I never thought about any of that. So I just say that, if our viewers continue to tune in, there's something that's going to be said that's going to trigger something in you, that's going to help you to overcome that mental block or mental barrier. That's our goal. That's our earnest desire, is to help somebody not become one of those statistics. Because, I mean, women are dying daily. And I will have the statistics here, but I know they're dying daily. I had them before, but you know, every certain minutes or something like that, you know, a woman is losing her life. And we focus on the women. We know that there are men out there that are in domestic violence situations, and we do hope at some point to be able to bring that resolve or that solution or some answers to that. We also want to be able to address those that are abusing that want to get help. Because on that side, to me, you can take a lady out or a woman out or somebody out of the situation, but you still have that person there, and there's still those unresolved issues. You still got that. So for us to eradicate domestic violence, you got to go to that source as well. So we got a big charge here and a big vision, but I do believe that you do it by, just like you said with the plan, you execute. And so I just leave that hope as a final word for myself for today.
And I'll leave with this. If a woman leaves and he comes after her, what does she do? And I'll end with that.
That's wonderful. We'll talk about that on next time.
All righty.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining us.